Oh, okay.
Don't you open it? Just got you.
I thought you were teasing me right now.
No. Man, how you doing? Good to see you.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the December meeting of the Board of Commissioners. I'm not a commissioner. I'm the attorney for the board, and I get to chair the meeting for about hopefully 30 seconds every year. For the purpose of reorganization of the board, the initial business would be to receive, well, I guess I'm skipping the invocation. Let's have an invocation. Reverend Gibson, would you do that for us?
I will. Would you bow your heads? All wise and all knowing God, our Father, we thank you for this day, for the opportunity that we've been granted to come together to discuss the business of the citizens of this county. We ask for your guidance, your leadership, and your direction in all that we say and in all that we do. For us in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
You know,
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we can move to the business. This is why I'm sitting between two people who have been chairs, and I'm not the chair, but we have nominations for the office of Chair of the Board of Commissioners for the
Yeah.
year.
Yes, sir. I want to nominate Tim Ivy for chairman.
Second. Mr. Ivy's been nominated, and that's been seconded. Are there other nominations?
Seconded. Who seconded?
Mr. Gibson. Are there
I'd like to nominate BJ Gibson.
Mr. Reverend Gibson's been nominated as well. Are there other nominations? All right. I think our process in the past has been that the clerk, Mr. Robinson, would call the roll alphabetically, and each commissioner would vote. All righty. You do that, please, sir.
I will certainly do that. As soon as I get my alphabetical order in order here. Commissioner Alford,
Tim Ivy.
Commissioner Frizzell,
Tim Ivy.
Commissioner BJ Gibson,
BJ Gibson.
and Commissioner Whit Gibson,
Tim Ivy.
and let's see, GHI, Commissioner Tim Ivy,
Tim Ivy.
and let's see, we got Commissioner McFadder
BJ Gibson.
and Commissioner Williams.
BJ Gibson.
And I have one, if my math is correct here, it would have 4 votes for Commissioner Tim Ivy. I have 3 votes for Commissioner BJ Gibson.
I counted that the same way. With that being said, I believe Mr. Ivy will be elected chair for the coming year, and congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. You go ahead and do the vice chair.
The floor is now open for nominations for the position of vice chair for the coming year.
I nominate myself, John Alford.
You nominate yourself, Mr. Alford?
I'd like to nominate BJ Darrell Gibson, vice chair.
Are there other nominations? There being no additional nominations, Mr. Clerk, would you repeat that same process?
I certainly will. And I will, since I've already got my names written down here, I'll be good to go. Commissioner Alford,
John Alford.
Commissioner Frizzell,
John Alford.
Commissioner BJ Gibson,
BJ Gibson.
Commissioner Whit Gibson,
John Alford.
Commissioner Tim Ivy,
BJ Gibson.
Commissioner McFadder,
BJ Gibson.
and Commissioner Williams.
BJ Gibson.
So I believe I have 3 votes for BJ Gibson, Commissioner BJ Gibson, and 3 votes for Commissioner John Alford. If my that is not correct.
There's 7 here.
You had 4.
4 and sorry, I have
I'll take that.
I've got 1, 2, 3 votes for Commissioner John Alford. 1, 2, 3, 4 votes for Commissioner BJ Gibson. And yes, I do know how to do math.
Thank you, sir. Congratulations, Reverend Gibson.
Thank you, sir.
All right, with that done, thank you, everyone. We'll move on to our approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, public forum. Mr. Robinson, do you have anybody signed up for that?
I do not.
Is there anybody present want to use the 3 minutes allowed for the public forum at this time? Seeing nobody rush the microphone, we'll close the public forum and move on to the consent agenda. I guess everyone's had time to look at that. If
Mr. Chairman, was Mr. Locke, he's further down. I haven't had a chance.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
after this. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. All right, so we need a motion for the consent agenda.
So move. Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Moving right along. All right, Dr. Locklear from the My Future North Carolina presentation. And everyone should have a pack, but I think she's putting it on the board too. So
Chair, Commissioner Ivy and distinguished board members, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak to you briefly tonight. Just want to say thank you to Ms. Sneed for meeting with me earlier to get this on the agenda, so I appreciate her support as well. So tonight, I'm just going to briefly talk about the North Carolina's post-secondary attainment goal, which is House Bill 664. And with that House bill, the state shall make significant efforts to increase access to learning and improve the education of more North Carolinians so that by the year 2030, 2 million residents between the ages of 25 and 44 will have completed a high-quality credential or post-secondary degree. So with that being said, our vision, and this is what we work on every single day, is to make sure that North Carolina employers have the necessary skilled workforce to meet business demands, and every individual in the labor market earns a family-sustaining wage and personally fulfilling career, position our state to remain economically competitive now and in the future. So with this slide that's being displayed now, if we stay on track of that 2 million, right now we're about 1.55 million. So we're about 30,000 shy of where we should be on the trajectory. And if we stay on this same path, by the year 2030, we will be 80,000 short. So we still have a lot of work to do between now and 2030. And that's why I'm here in Scotland County tonight, because I serve as the Sand Hills Regional Impact Manager. So I have all 10 counties in the prosperity zone for the Sand Hills. And I want everyone to know that I'm here to support Scotland County to make sure you reach your target of having 3,632 ages 25 to 44 with that degree or credential. Okay, next slide, please, Ms. April. Okay. So I want to bring to your attention, we still have a lot of work to do with our American Indians, our Hispanics, our Blacks, and of course with our mixed race. As you can see, the numbers are very dismal there. So working with Dr. Baldwin and his team, I've already visited Scotland High School, talking with the new principal there, working with some of the directors. So we have already started putting some things in place to make sure that we're reaching each and every child here in Scotland County. Next slide, please. So based on the county educational attainment rate growth, you will see that Scotland County has a negative 0.30 over the last 3 years. Next slide. So we want to turn that negative into a positive. So that's why I'm here, to make sure that I can help you work with, because I've already spoken to the Rotary, that we've worked with St. Andrews and the president over there. Like I said, Dr. Baldwin and his team. So we already have, and of course, working with Mr. Alford over with the Lumber River Workforce Development Board. So we already have a lot of good things happening in Scotland County, and we want to continue to make sure that we get that negative into a positive. So you'll see from 2018 to 2021, you had a decrease in population in that age group 25 to 44 of 2.5. And if you look over to the right, that gives you that negative 0.30 with the post-secondary degree or credential. From 18, you were at 31.36 in 2021, which was the latest data was 3105. And in February of 2024, the new attainment goal data will be shared at Richmond Community College. And I want to say, Chairman Ivy, you should have gotten an invitation, but we do want representatives from Scotland County to be at that meeting. It's going to be for the entire Sand Hills region, and it's going to be held over at Richmond Community College. Next slide, please. So when we look at education, we have a very robust and the infrastructure for education for our students and our adult learners. You know, North Carolina, we're very fortunate to have all the institutions when it comes to public, private, community colleges. You look at, you know, you don't see that in every state in the United States. So we were very blessed to have the tools that we can use to help our kids. And so today I was over at Richmond Community College and, you know, of course, partners with Scotland, and they're doing a phenomenal job. We just want to continue that support with Richmond Community College. Next slide, please. One thing I definitely want to highlight is our students until 2022, the numbers for Scotland County schools were very low when it came to applying for financial aid. And every student, whether in Scotland or Hope or Cumberland, should have the opportunity to apply for financial aid, no matter what the income of the parents are, because sometimes, you know, we want to make sure that there's money out there for them, that they can receive that money in a scholarship or in a Pell Grant. So I want to really highlight Scotland County Schools because with the leadership of the superintendent and his team, they went from 26% last year, and now they are currently at 65% of their students. So that is a tremendous increase. That's one of the highest increases in the state of North Carolina. So we will continue to partner with Dr. Baldwin and his staff to provide incentives to get that number even higher. So you'll see it's above the state rate as of today, or as of September, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. And so you'll see all the counties that are highlighted in green. Those are our pilots, and we will be working with those same counties this year. So Mildred and I already have some time that we're going to be working on that incentive plan. So hopefully we can get that to 75, 80% by the end of this school year. Next slide, please. So you should have on your table a copy of the Scotland County profile. This is unique to your county, okay? And like I said, this will be updated in February of 2024, okay? So it has on there, you know, opportunities for growth. It talks about the local goals, and up in that upper left-hand corner, when I was talking about the 3,632, that is your goal to reach the 2 million. That is what Scotland County, you know, when the numbers were calculated, that was your goal, was 3,632. So as of today, you should have somewhere, next slide, please. Should have somewhere around 2,575, if my math is correct. So we still have a gap of 1,057 ages 25 to 44 with a post-secondary degree or credential that we'll need by the year 2030. And then, of course, you know, working with Dr. Baldwin and his staff, those opportunities for growth for our pre-K 12, as you can see, the top three are math performance, reading performance, and of course, chronic absenteeism. If we can't keep the students in school, they're not going to do well in math or reading. So that's a goal that we're definitely working on with Dr. Baldwin and his staff. Next slide. So when I go out to meetings and I have one-on-one with whomever, these are some of the questions I normally ask, like, you know, what areas of success, you know, can you talk about in your community? And I saw something on a billboard, I think it was today, that Laurinburg is one of the top 10 places to retire. Is that true? Is that what's on the, because I just retired and I'm trying to find a place to live. So Laurinburg may be my next home. So, but I thought that was really unique and we need to spread that, you know. And I know you have a low tax base, Chairman, isn't that correct? You have a low tax base. I mean, so there's
Wrong
great things.
county.
I've
Which
got my
which word are you using now? Base or
which one
rate?
is
There's two different things.
Yeah, you in the wrong county.
Okay, move on. No.
I thought it was low.
He
Maybe
go-
someone gave me the
you
wrong
were-
information.
You were doing good. You were
Okay.
heading in the right direction.
Strike that from the record. Okay. All right.
Technically, you are correct.
Okay.
We have a low property value.
Maybe that's what they told
That's
you.
what it
Okay, all
is.
right,
And so it balances out.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then, of course, when we look at your metrics, like I said, working closely, and I keep saying Dr. Baldwin because, you know, as the superintendent, we have to work very closely with our pre-K-12 partners in order for us to help Dr. McInnes over at Richmond Community College, because if we can't get them out of the high schools, then we can't get them over to the community college to get them what they need, or get them to UNC Pembroke or Fayetteville State or UNCW, wherever they decide to go to get that 4-year degree. Next slide. And of course, we have 8 managers here in the region, but I just want you to know that if you can't get me, I provided the phone numbers. If you're in another county and you're talking with a colleague, these individuals can help you with any questions that you may have. Next slide. So tonight's meeting is our attainment focused community meeting. So that our first step is for the county commissioners to endorse our 2 million by 2030. And I want to say on the next slide, we provided you with a list of all of those in Scotland County that have already endorsed the 2 million by 2030. So once you endorse, then we will start working on what we call the local attainment goal. And that will be through a committee with the community college, with the K-12, with the county commissioners, with the Chamber of Commerce. We all have cross-sector partners come together and work on our goal for the county. We'll develop a work plan. They call it an action plan. I call it a work plan. And then once we get that plan put together, we'll execute it. And then that will help us to increase your local attainment. Next slide, please. So you'll see that the county schools, Richmond Community College, the Chamber, the Lumber River Workforce Development Board, and St. Andrews have already endorsed the 2 million by 2030. So hopefully tonight, the county commissions will do the same, so we can move Scotland County forward. Because out of the 10 counties in the Sand Hills region, we already have 5 of our county commissioners that have endorsed, which is really one of the highest in the region, in the state. So we're very proud of the work in the Sand Hills region. And I think that's all I have for you.
Thank you, sir. Any questions from anyone? Before us, without hearing any questions, before us is a resolution. I think you gave it to everybody, didn't you? So they could read it. If you'd like to pass that resolution, then we would need to take action on that.
I move that we adopt this resolution.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
A second.
And have a motion and a second. Any other discussion, questions about it? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. and
We'll
Thank you.
get this.
Look forward to working with you.
Let's see.
Jason, do I need to go ahead and sign this and give it to him?
There's a couple grammaticals.
That's okay. He told me I'm going.
Okay, I got you. Okay. All right, moving on to the next item. Thank you, Dr. Locklear, wherever you went. Okay. We have a zoning special use permit. Jim McMillan with the Planning and Zoning Board.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a request for special use for a previously zoned commercial use lot at the corner of US 74 and Elmore Road. This particular property, as your documents will tell you, I think was previously owned by Oakwood Homes, was used for manufactured home storage and movement of those homes off and onto the property. This particular request will need a couple of additional things, such as a portable office and some other items that are not specifically addressed under commercial use. And it also is not addressed on commercial use for movement of the floors, as they call them, on and off. Now, this is for let's see, Rebuild North Carolina projects. That particular project is for properties that will be used to replace damaged properties over the last 5 years. If you're familiar with that program, Rebuild North Carolina, and they are producing these facilities. They are starting to process them, move them in and out. And we are asking that this property, the zoning board has approved the request for special use for this movement of these and subsequent use for storing property for Clayton Mobile Homes once the Rebuild North Carolina project is completed.
They are, my passage of that area, they already have a ton of them there, though, don't they?
They have, yes, they do.
And it's been used for that for years anyway, ain't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's always, that's.
Yeah.
that's all
Matter of how
Tiger
much,
on it,
it's not
they-
for storing though. Not for storage.
They were for sale, I thought.
Well, they,
No, there was mobile homes there.
Yeah.
Not for storage though. We talking about storage now.
Yeah.
Yeah, they will be stored
No, but I mean.
temporarily.
They already there.
Yeah, it's full
Yeah,
of.
they're already there.
Full of work.
The Clayton Mobile Homes, in speaking with the representative for Clayton, they had that project already in the works. They had no area on their property to store the floors they already had built. They basically were forced to go ahead and move them onto that lot before the zoning board and the county commissioners had the opportunity to approve this. We have expressed our displeasure. We were kind of caught in a tough situation with this. And I'm not happy with the way that it's progressed.
is your recommendation is to approve this?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
I'll second.
Hold on, we got to do a public hearing on it, so.
Oh.
But, all right, so with, I was gonna forget that too. With that, we will open the public hearing on this matter. Is anyone here to speak for this permit to be issued? And is there anyone here to speak against that permit to be issued? All right, hearing none. Yes, let me close the public. So hearing and seeing none, we will close the public hearing on that now and open it up for discussion.
Then this situation tells us we need to put something in place. There have to be some kind of a penalty for anyone that goes ahead and without the public having any say so in the rezoning, this is a violation of something in our books. The public need to know that you're gonna do something in their community before you do it. That's why we have a planning and zoning board. And now, first of all, I'm glad to see the folk there, but this is not the way you do it. And we need to discuss that. You can't just bypass statutes and ordinances and then come to us and ask us to approve it.
So you saying we should make them move it before we approve it?
But no, we don't want to do that, but we need to address it. Maybe our attorney can help us out here. We need to, because that opens it up for anybody else. I'll go ahead and start my house. We just had a gentleman on Alpha Street was ready to put a house there and he couldn't do it for a technical reason. Now we turn around and here's somebody who started their business without commissioners or the planning and zoning board.
There's a lot of them out there.
Well, I think, John,
My problem is just with bypassing the.
well, I understand
board
that,
and the public.
but I think because there was trailers there before and they was basically doing the same thing before, I think they might have thought that it was already zoned for
I
that.
think you said it was there before.
Because it was Oakwood used it there before and they would bring trailers in there to work on trailers. For several years.
Right.
All right, well, I guess that's something we would have to look into. I don't think that's something we could do tonight. And,
Yeah, we couldn't put it in place tonight.
no,
But I agree with you. I think something should be put in place of that.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about this particular case.
yeah, there have definitely been mobile homes there before.
Yeah.
As
Should-
a
should
sales
we-
lot and as a
Mhm.
repair lot and whatever, but
Should we postpone that motion? I mean, we're saying that motion to.
The next month.
Information.
this
need
your
to give-
board. Y'all
We
do
need to
what-
give the public a chance to come and, see, they don't know this. The adjacent landowners, they don't know this.
You got posted at Pinkertown on the back.
it's- Yeah, I think it had the signage out. Brooks not here. but
Ain't really nothing around it, John.
Pinkertown on the back side of.
there's a
Yeah,
picture
Pinkertown is back there.
Is it?
Yeah.
behind it.
I
Yeah.
mean, there's a road right down. I just think a sign should go up. They're asking for it to be rezoned. Just
Well, they did have the signage.
They had sign up.
Yes, they have
Yeah.
the sign. They got pictures of that. So,
Okay, so now what happened?
well, we didn't have any public input, correct? Did y'all have anyone in your meeting about it?
We have representatives from, CMH.
Come to the podium.
We had a representative from CMH meet with us at our board meeting. And at that time, we did discuss, and we said that it may be that you have to move these off the property. In our opinion, that would have been basically the only correct thing to do. Unfortunately, with the number of floors that had already been moved on, and with the facilities full at the manufacturing facility, I'll be honest, in my almost 12 years on the board, I've never run across a situation like this. And it pretty much put us between a rock and a hard place, trying to help do the right thing and knowing that we were probably going to get caught in the middle of this whole thing. We did what we felt like we had to do at the time. And we knew it had to come before the board, the county commissioners, and be presented as such with all the information that you've got. Believe me, we were not happy with being presented this the way that it was presented.
But y'all still approved it though.
Yes, we did.
Who's our zone enforcement officer?
This board,
We don't actually have
we are the enforcement officer.
enforcement officer go out there to the site.
Yes, we do. Thomas Milligan.
Yeah, I was gonna say
He's our zoning officer.
out here now.
Zone,
Okay.
So
and
you
then,
go out there.
I'm not sure if Thomas has been out there or not.
So
That's
we
where-
need to
That's
cover
where it should,
ourselves.
that's where it should have.
Table this and let them come back a future date.
That a motion?
That would be my motion. Table it for the night
Second.
and do our proper due diligence.
But
I think we're not gonna ask
Well,
them to move them tonight.
I'm gonna ask.
the mobile
Commissioner.
homes is already there.
Yeah, we're not asking them to move. We just need to go back and we have an opportunity now to do it right. And let's do it.
Before we take that motion, we would ask if Commissioner Frizell still wants to move forward with his motion, or if he withdraws that. So,
You voted on it, didn't you? We did not.
no, we went into the public hearing because it was before, he made the motion before we had the public hearing.
I'd still like to make the motion to pass this thing. Get it on pass. I mean, the houses is already there. I mean, there ain't much we can do at this point except make them move the houses. So I don't see I don't see the sense in tabling it. We just, just get it on bias.
Okay.
I mean, we're here to help these companies progress, not
I
stop.
got you. But I'm with you on that, but my concern is them doing it and it's not going through the proper channels.
We're setting a precedent.
All right, well, we have a motion. Do we have a second on that?
Got you, but
That a house don't be moved.
We don't have a second yet. That's what I'm,
Did you have a second earlier?
before we do discussion, no.
I seconded earlier, but I got concerns now with, you can second it.
I'll second.
Okay, so now we have a motion and a second. Now we can go on with the discussion of it. And my take on what John was saying and what Commissioner Williams was probably saying, I don't want to put words in their mouth, is we're not wanting them necessarily to move it, but needs to be some kind of punitive measure here with, I mean, I think they're already building the fencing and out
Need to
there.
hear from the people from Pinkertown. give them opportunity. If nobody responds, then okay. But the neighbors there haven't had a chance to come. And what will happen if somebody else come next week and say, I'll put a house on my property, but I forgot to come down and get this property rezoned? What are we gonna do then?
Mr. Chairman, what will happen between this meeting and the next meeting that would prompt those residents to come?
You talking about if we table it?
Yes,
It didn't pass the motion on the floor.
yes.
Um,
What'll happen
we would have to,
different
we
between
would
now
have
and
to
then?
advertise it again, I guess. It'd be about the only way to do it, wouldn't it?
Now, would you advertise that to come back and have it go back through the zoning planning with the public input there?
I'll look to our wise.
Decide-
The signage would be the same. I mean,
Right.
it's at least what was in this packet. It looked
So
like,
signage was placed on the property.
yeah,
It's
before
in,
you're
it's
here.
in the packet, yeah.
But after they had put the homes on there.
Right.
Yeah, okay. That's a no-go.
Well, we have a motion for the permit to pass in a second, and we'll let everybody.
If I may
Yes.
ask just one more question.
Yeah.
It is the recommendation of the zoning board that we approve this. Is that, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but I think
With some degree of dissatisfaction, yes, it is.
Well, but yeah.
But it is the recommendation of the zoning. board.
Yes, it is.
Mr. McMillan, may I ask, is that degree of dissatisfaction the same as what our board has about? the
Yes, it is.
process? Okay.
Process was not followed. It placed each and every one of us on the zoning board and the county commissioners in an untenable position, simply because the rules were not followed. And it places each one of us in a position where we have to make a decision that may not be what we'd like to make.
I guess it begs the question, if we hadn't approved it or denied it, and then they don't move them, then what? You know?
Say that again.
Don't,
I don't think removal is
Then you're
what we're talking about. We're just talking about the
Mr. Chairman, will you say that again?
process.
I was saying, what if we deny it and don't approve it even later? Then what happens to them if they don't move?
you got a zoning officer.
I'm not gonna change my vote. I'm for it.
He's not for the process.
I can't accept the process.
No, I don't think anybody here is disagreeing
And
with
there's
you on
no
that either.
urgency other than we'll just come back next month and do it.
But my
Leave
only
them there.
concern, Mr. Chairman, is
Follow the
even if
process.
we waited, the process being broken doesn't change. They still didn't follow the process.
So they're already building the fence out.
Yeah.
So
That's my only thing about, I mean, they still operating, whether we vote on it or not.
oh, if you table it, then I think your zoning officer has the ability to do a stop order on it.
Yeah, he can stop that fence.
If
For a
if this
month.
board chooses to table it.
For a month.
But-
But Commissioner Williams, when you say he can stop the fence,
I mean, he
just
said-
until next month?
yeah, we're not saying that they need to move it. That's not it. Our concern is
Follow the process.
because the Alpha Street, the guy built the house.
We
But-
wouldn't
but-
tear the house down.
well, let me ask this question. What is it zoned now?
Commercial, highway commercial.
And would that allow mobile homes on the lot without the office?
That's what it was zoned previously when Oakwood owned it
Well,
and
I'm
it was
asking
there.
that, But of course, they had an office there too. But
If you look in the zoning ordinances, it generally references fixed buildings. And the circumstance here is that we'll have buildings moving on and off, on and off. And there's nothing in the ordinances that addresses temporary storage like that,
But it was already zoned commercial.
commercial, highway commercial.
I would have,
I mean,
I mean, if it was me, I would have thought it would have been, if I'd have seen commercial, I would have,
oh, you could do what they did.
I'd have thought I could do what they did. Absolutely.
And if you're gonna not approve it, so we can delay them putting up their fence, and we're coming back, and we're gonna come back a month from now and approving it, That's not following the process either.
No, I'm not concerned with the fence. My
Concerned
concern
with
is
the process.
You're right.
Not the fence, the process.
But so,
Y'all are saying exactly the same thing we said.
Hey,
so if you want
But-
to want to honor the process, is your option to not approve it, have them move everything off of that that's not currently acceptable under the current zoning ordinance.
I would like for them to understand the process, however we get there.
But Commissioner Williams, it was already zoned commercial,
Got you, but our zoning committee has concerns.
but it was already zoned commercial. If you was gonna do something, you bought a piece of land, and it's already zoned commercial, I would assume, I'm a businessman, I do this every day, and I would assume that it was okay because it is zoned commercial. There's a, everybody that's out there working, most of us don't even understand this zoning. But when you see something commercial and you're in the commercial business, well, instantly you think, hey, this is commercial. I can do this.
What was your,
So I think it's a case.
what were your concerns?
So I think it's a case, Commissioner. I think it's a case of not knowing the rules completely instead of trying to break the rules. I think that's the case here.
Lack of knowledge.
Well,
And I
I
think
think,
also
I
there's-
think if we didn't approve it, they can still continue with activities that are allowed in the commercial highway zoning ordinance now
Mhm.
without having a conditional permit. And so I don't know that we would stop anything anyway.
Yeah. To answer your question, my concern was the lack of following the process. That's what the zoning board has an issue with. We are an advisory board. That's all that we can do. We can't legislate. We can't adjudicate. There was a mention of penalties and fees.
That was my
Uh,
question.
We can't do anything with that, but
Our zoning officer can.
But that was my question to our attorney and you, Mr. McMillan. I understand the issue totally. I just don't think holding it up is gonna address the main issue. I think it would be probably,
Wouldn't address the main issue is they bypass you as a commissioner by bypassing the zoning board that we appointed.
yes, sir.
So that's the issue.
I'm not arguing
Go
that.
back and just act as though nothing was never done and just do it the right
Can I
way.
finish, Commissioner Alford?
That's
What
it.
I was saying, I don't think stopping it fixes it. It would be in my mind, if there was something in our penalties where there was possibly a fee that was to be charged because you didn't follow the order or the procedure, that would be more beneficial than stopping it and then approving it. If you stop it and send them a letter where they've got to pay a penalty for not following, and I'm not just saying this time, when it happens next time, we're going to pass it, but there's a penalty because you did not follow the procedure. That, in my opinion, would be more advantageous.
We're not stopping anything. We're just saying, as far as I'm concerned, the commission, it ain't happened yet. Until we follow the procedure, you put some homes, whatever you want to call them, that look like just mobile homes to me.
Do we have the ability to impose a penalty?
there are in the zoning ordinances options for penalties, but I am not sure that it addresses a penalty in this specific instance.
That was my question to the attorney.
Have they done anything that's not consistent with the commercial zoning?
No.
So you couldn't.
So they're within, if they've done nothing to break the commercial zoning, then they've done nothing wrong.
The special use basically addresses movement of those properties on and off as a storage site for Reach, North Carolina. And to put a temporary office, a portable office.
So what they've done so far has been done consistent with the commercial zone that they are already in without the permit. Is that right? Or so far?
Pretty much so. Without me reading the fine print, I'd say yes.
But my concerns still go back to you. You got concerns with how it was done.
Yes.
Okay, and we've had.
And let me address that. We,
So, hold on. We've had a call for the question here, which means we need to get this voted on here. So, and with everybody, if let's do it as a voice, a roll call vote, just because we need to, so everyone will answer up on their,
I'm gonna go alphabetically.
Roll call vote for what now?
the motion and second to issue the permit, special use permit
Tonight.
tonight. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go,
I don't want, I'm not sure who our parliamentarian is, but I think when you've got a call for question, you vote on whether or not to end discussion and vote.
I just did.
Or you could,
I thought the chair had the authority to do that without a vote.
okay, well, I will bow to whoever our parliamentarian is.
Ed and I together do that.
Yeah, well, I mean, so let's move ahead with that, Jason.
I'm gonna do alphabetical, like I did.
However you want to do it.
So the motion on the floor is to issue the permit tonight for the special use permit for the
To
two,
accept the zoning board's
to accept the zoning board's
recommendation.
recommendations, which is,
And that is to approve it.
yes, and I will say that we had two meetings. We did not approve it on the initial meeting. We called a special meeting after we had had discussion, and we approved it at our second meeting, considering the circumstances that they were in.
so that is to accept the advice of the plan and zoning board. Commissioner Alford. No. Commissioner Frizell.
Yes.
Commissioner BJ Gibson.
Yes.
Commissioner Whitney Gibson.
Yes.
Commissioner Tim Ivy.
Yes.
Commissioner McFadden.
No.
Commissioner Williams.
No.
All right, so I'm gonna try this again. I have 4 votes for yes, 3 votes for no.
All right, then that'll pass and issue the permit. Correct. Okay.
And the other motion to table dies because of
Because of the previous motion, yes, yes.
Mr. Chairman, could we not, though, I do think moving forward, we need to address when this happens and make sure that in our policy, there is,
A
And
penalty,
there is. a
penalty.
penalty
I
of some
agree.
sort.
right.
I agree.
Commissioner Gibson, if you don't mind, I'd like to see that made in the form of a motion.
Let's do it.
Who am I giving the authority to? Our policy procedure committee?
Yeah,
maybe?
I just think, I think we need to take I think the thing that disturbed me about the conversation was that we don't want to set a precedent that the next guy who does this comes in and says, well, you let them get away with it. Don't beat us up. I think the motion should be that we take what the process violation seriously. We don't think we can fix it in the one that we just approved, but we need to establish a policy. When that is done, they either have to go back and start over, which means removing whatever they've done that
Gotcha.
they shouldn't have done, or we impose a penalty of some kind for them to do.
But literally, that's what we did.
Yeah, it sounds so good.
That's what we did. Said you can come and you camp on Scotland County and can wait you want to with no penalty.
But
That's
we
what
don't have a
did.
process in place that
To
offers
do
a
the
penalty.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
what we're
saying
talking about doing
we
now.
need to
Talking
put
about-
something in
That's what I'm saying.
place.
We need to establish that from this point on.
So I'd offer a motion, Mr. Chairman, that our policy and procedure committee work to create a procedure of penalty when matters like these happen as it relates to zoning and not following those.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other questions about that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries.
If I might, if we can ask Jim McMillan and his group, Jim, do you think you can find where it shows that we have the ability to impose a penalty and on what cases it might be pertinent? Okay. Would you help us do that? Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. McMillan. Moving on to the opioid settlement funding resolution, April Sneed.
Okay. So we've been talking about our opioid settlement funds pretty often at our meetings. And so at our last collaborative meeting, I'm glad to say that the group came up with 3 ways, I guess you'd say, to begin starting to use some of those funds. And so you had a resolution in your packet, which is required to use those settlement funds for these three purposes. One, the purchase of Narcan. Our supply, I guess you could say, is a little low, and we do get Narcan donated. However, we want to make sure our supply is not out. We want to start the opioid recovery program, and that would pull in that court recovery program and also help more than just those people that would be in that court recovery program. We will pair the dollars in this resolution with the East Point grant dollars to make a much bigger program than just that court recovery program.
But that opioid recovery care program only shows authorizing 130,000. I thought we needed 260 for the court.
I took that budget and worked with the judge on that, and she is
you
agreeable
talked
to
to
that
her. Okay,
amount. Yes. There was a lot of things.
Agreeable.
She's agreeable. There was a lot of things in that budget that could be in-kind services with the county versus needing to put money in the budget. And some things in that budget that opioid settlement funds will not allow to use. And then
I was just wanting to make sure the judge knew.
Yes, I shared that with her. And so then we have the opioid abuse prevention, and that is in the collaborative meeting, there was talk about the school system, using the school system as a catalyst to begin some opioid prevention, of course, with children. And so they're not ready to start that now, but we knew that's something we wanted to do, so we designated funding for that as well. And so this resolution will get you from tonight, if you pass it, through the end of the fiscal year. And each year you have to re-adopt, or adopt a new resolution. And so you can keep with the same programs you want. You can add programs. You can do, clearly you can do resolutions anytime you like, but this is where the collaborative group thought would be a good start.
And this starts at $142,500. So
Yes.
if you need to know.
And you're just under $600,000 with your settlement funds.
What's the fiscal year?
I'm sorry.
When does fiscal year end?
June 30th.
Just comment. I'm okay with this. Only thing I would ask is that we come back and consider, one of the conversation we had early on was about providing some support to our local providers as well. And I wouldn't want us to move too far along without making that at least a consideration. So maybe for the collaborative group to discuss in this December meeting.
Absolutely. And part of what is in that court recovery program will pull in some of those local providers, because I believe there was at least 10,000 or more dollars that will get funneled through local providers to provide treatment. And so that's a portion, but again, we can bring that discussion up as well.
Yeah.
So I'd offer a motion that we pass the opioid settlement funding resolution.
I'll second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you, ma'am. Moving right along to Brian Graham, Parks and Rec, I.E. Johnson Community Center Security. There he is.
Good afternoon. Good evening, commissioners. I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of Scotland County Parks and Recreation. In any programs that we have in Parks and Recreation, we have two focal points, with the first being safety, second being fun. We want everyone that participates in any programs in Parks and Recreation to be safe and to enjoy themselves. And over the past 60 days, I've noticed something that's concerning to me as the leader of our department, and it's safety. And it's not just at the I.E. Johnson Community Center. I know that's the bullet point on here, but we've had a couple incidents at our facilities, the two newer facilities, which is the Laurel Hill Community Center and IEJ Community Center, that are concerning. The first one, we had a fight at our free play event, and that resulted in 3 individuals being suspended for a year. And just this past week, I was made aware of a firearm at the I.E. Johnson Community Center. It's concerning. I want to bring it to your attention to say, let's go ahead and address this.
Somebody pulled the fire alarm? Is that what you're saying?
Firearm.
Firearm.
Did they
I thought you said
firearm?
fire
Gun.
alarm. Okay.
That's what I thought he said.
Someone actually
Gun.
had one.
Wish.
A handgun was in the pocket.
I got it.
And the thing about it was, it wasn't really discreet at all. It had an extended clip on it, which really kind of brought alarms to our staff. Now, the good thing about the community centers is anybody that goes into a center, they have a picture ID from our check-in system, and we can identify them. In the past, at the Wagram Recreation Center, they just used a method where they just went in and signed their name on a piece of paper. Obviously, with expansion and more people in facilities, we felt like this is a safety issue, and we've upgraded that feature. So we know who's in the center at all times, and we can identify them by their picture and their information that's in our system that's stored. We're in the process of suspending this individual for the firearm, but again, our staff's concerned about it, and they're in a position of being vulnerable. Right now, at a lot of free play. This is the event. This is the program that I'm talking about. Free play basketball. Don't have any concerns with any other programs that we put on or haven't to this date. But a lot of individuals will bring a backpack in. We don't know what's in the backpack. And then if you're bold enough to put a gun in your pocket with a clip hanging out of it, that's no regard for much of anything right there. I will say we've ordered signage to put on all of our doors at our facilities to let people know that weapons and firearms are not allowed. Obviously, the county has a policy, but if you're going to a community center, you don't know what our policies are. So, we are updating that. We do have policies in-house, but again, this is a concern that we have. It's not just at one community center. I mean, we have 3 here in the county, and I think we need to get ahead of this and try to implement some type of safety measure before something gets out of hand. So I wanted to bring this to you.
What do you recommend?
All right. You touched on about the signage.
Mhm.
Well, in the beginning, I want to ask you the questions. Do we have proper, last couple of times I've been to Law Hill and Johnson, I didn't see any signage. And you got people that wearing concealed weapon
Everywhere.
everywhere. But like I say, that's the question why you addressed this now. But that's what I want to ask you. Where the signage at?
Yeah.
Because not right now, there's nothing in place.
Right.
About the signage. So I'm glad we're going to.
Yeah, we ordered signage for all of our doors at all of our facilities. It's a sticker on there, kind of like you see when you walk into the bank.
Can we put signs up at the entrance outside once a person is at the door?
Yeah, I mean that's what we're doing, and I just ordered those signs to stick them on the door at all access points, so people see it, and it'll be next to the handle. But I don't really think that addresses a sign's not going to stop somebody from.
What's your recommendation?
I don't have a recommendation. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Hey,
I don't have a single plan at this point in time to address it. I want to hear, what you guys think, what Ms. Sneed thinks.
I think going forward, even though it's a community center, in order to kind of rid it of some of the drama, do we move to a membership to some degree? You have a free play, so that's what you're gonna get. Everybody's gonna come and play. But if I got, I don't mean an outrageous fee, but if you want law enforcement working it eventually during those hours, you're gonna have to pay for it.
We enforce $2. I mean, it's
But
a
$2
minimal fee.
ain't gonna stop. If I want to fight you or get you, I'm gonna get $2.
Right. Yeah.
But if there's some type of fee, monthly or however we decide to do it, you're gonna have to do something. It's just the way the world is. We need to be honest about it. The world we're living in.
I mean, I thought it'd be a great idea to have a police presence there during those hours. During the hours that we have
Think
free
it'll
play.
deter. You got a car out front. When they pull in, they're gonna keep around the circle.
One thing, Brian and I, we just started these conversations, but one thing we talked about was having a presence and see if we could work with our police chief and even our sheriff to see if they're willing to put a satellite office there.
Well,
We can give them the space.
do it the first couple of months. And you go ahead and establish that.
We got an officer here. why they can be, we're adults, them will be kids there. They want to come here, why don't we send them over there?
Yeah,
I mean, even at our athletic events, I mean, things are getting out of hand. I'm gonna be honest with you. You know, with parents and their babies, our staff, it's even hard to find officials these days. It's hard to find part-time staff because, you know, our part-time staff's generally high school age kids. Parents don't want them in that environment. In basketball, you're in a gym, you know, and it's a lot closer. Football, we can tolerate it. You're outside of a fence. There's a little distance. But basketball is a little different, you know. Our staff get a little anxiety about it. I mean, I would love to see them at a lot of these athletic events too, because I mean, you see it all the time on social media. You know, somebody hits an official or something goes a little sideways.
Well, the first couple of months, should we try to give him the leeway to be able to hire a deputy or whoever, city officer? You establish that environment. And hopefully the guys will say, well, they're going to have law enforcement. I'm not going over.
So should we just go and see the sheriff and talk with him about it? Is that what you're saying?
I think there needs to be a law enforcement presence these first couple of months.
You're talking city and county.
City and county.
Right.
But you're not talking about all the time. You're just talking about during the free play stuff, right?
During free play, and I'd love to see it at our athletic events, to be honest with
Right.
So how many hours are you talking about?
you. Free play is generally about 3 hours, 3 to
A day?
3 hours a day.
So every day you do
And that's where the problem's at, right there at free play. That's where all your problems at.
Yeah.
And all three facilities have free play during that time.
So you're talking about 60.
90. It's $30 an hour.
No, I'm talking about how many hours.
Oh,
You're talking about 60 some odd hours a week
well, we're talking about
18 each facility,
times.
54.
So
but you're only gonna do it what period? You think a month and a half, 2 months to kind of
It'd be a good start.
our attorney brought up an issue also that we need to maybe look at our ordinances on this possession on county property because, there's been some changes in the way ordinances are done and is our ordinance satisfactory to be enforceable at that facility, at all those facilities? You're talking 60 hours a week between the three, and if you multiply that out, you might as well say $6,000 a week. In
Wagram been having issues?
We haven't had any there.
We just say Laurel Hill.
We need to provide the same thing.
Yeah,
make it
everywhere.
available-
everywhere, right? I don't think we'd do it one without the other.
Make it available for everybody.
Well, he said $60,000 a week.
6,000.
$6,000 a week. $6,000 a week.
If not more,
And
you can get 3 hours.
And I think we need to not negate the request for athletic events as well.
I tried, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even an on-duty officer, if you're on duty, if you're a sheriff's deputy, you're on duty, they can be staged at the community center. If they have a call, go to your call, come back. You know,
During those hours.
during those hours.
You got a zone car for IEJ. There's a car assigned to that particular zone.
That's kind of where I was going with wondering if we could elicit the assistance of our two law enforcement agencies that are already in our city and our county before having to pay private. And it may be a mix of both to some degree.
I think that's the right. I think our director needs to have a conversation with our two law enforcement and see what they can give and then what we have to pay for.
And I'll say it's one thing for me to have a conversation, but if it comes from you guys, you carry a lot more weight than a little old part.
No, I agree, but I mean, if you talk, take me.
Thank you.
I think if you start that conversation with them and then let us know to where we could follow back up with them and see what they're going to do and see what they can do. I don't know what they can do. And then we'll have to go from there. I mean,
But I will tell you, Brian, this is not a foreign conversation. You know that. You and I have had this conversation, Ms. Sneed and I, when Commissioner Williams was chief and we started the IJ, it was a conversation. So, I mean, it's just, it never happened, but it's been a conversation all along. I know IJ coming about, but I think something just needs to happen more official to actually put something in place. Both the sheriff and the chief know that it's a conversation and something that needs to happen.
Yeah.
What's your peak hours? I mean, what hours are?
It starts around lunch, 12 to 3. And again, I'm telling you, some of these conversations during free play, they would open your eyes. You're talking about some gang
12
activity.
to 3?
Yeah, I mean, they have real conversations in there about, their oppositions and things like that. It's not a comfortable place for our staff to be in, and I want to get ahead of it. I mean, I really think we need to get ahead of it.
Like your peak hours as far as law enforcement, unless it's a Saturday or busy Friday, somebody can stop in.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Get it going and we'll jump in where we
I'll
need.
have the preliminary, and then if we need to get involved, we can do that.
Yeah, I'll be on it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Boards and committees, Commissioner Gibson,
Oh, already?
already.
All righty. So I have a few things. The first is in your packet, there was a resignation from Dr. Howard Whitehurst, who has served as our senior Tar Heel delegate for over 10 years. He has resigned. We received a letter from Ms. Twyla Allen and from Dr. Whitehurst asking that we consider appointing the alternate, which is Ms. Sheila Swift, to be the delegate, and we recruit for an alternate. We can't do that tonight because we have to have an application. But we want to bring that conversation up so that Jason, Ms. Tyson can reach out to Ms. Swift, get the application, and then we can advertise for the alternate if that's the route that we want to take.
I don't know why not.
The second,
I just wanted to know what you all wanted to do.
Right.
So I know what process to follow.
so you all okay with that, with us advertising for a delegate, not for an alternate, not for the actual delegate?
Yeah,
And
I am.
y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Jason, you got it?
I got it.
Thank you.
I got it.
The second is there are 3 vacancies on the Board of Health. The optometrist who serves is Dr. Bowling. He will not return after December 31st, and that's by his choice. A public member, and I'm wanting to make the motion that we reappoint Ms. Diane Bean back to the public member. And a new appointment, I want to make the motion that we appoint Mr. Ian Yancey as the engineer on the Board of Health.
Second. Is that the only ones that,
They're the only 2 applicants that we have.
And you're looking for a optometrist?
We all
Looking for an optometrist.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. And we go back to the county manager for the county manager report.
Okay, you have your report in your packet, and so I will highlight a few things that have updates since the last time we were here. The North Turnpike water line, we began to contact individuals or residents who would be in the area of where we think the scope of work would run for that North Turnpike water line, getting some good feedback on that, some definite yeses on that. And so our next step in that is for HDR now has a better idea that they can come up with an accurate scope of work. So that's where we are with that project. Your East
Let
Laurinburg.
me ask you this, Ms. Steve.
Sure.
I heard you say you're getting good responses.
Yes.
You really are.
We are. I believe there was about 75 people. And what we had to do, of course, is map in an area, and we used the tax records to see everybody that lived in that area. And so, of course, some we couldn't get on the phone. We had at least 30 or 35 yeses. And then, of course, you've got some no's mixed in there as well. And
The reason I asked is because when we first started this, if you all remember, Commissioner Golston took us to that community and we held a meeting. And so I'm not saying hold a meeting, but I wouldn't want us to just depend on reaching out maybe through phone
Oh, no.
and not going to that area
Right.
if the need is there as we did before,
Right.
because those meetings were well attended.
And we did this as the start because HDR needed something to use to have an idea how to do this scope of work, what areas to encompass. And so we hope this will be a good start to the scope of work. And then when we get really down to the point of, do you want to do this? It'll look more like that.
Okay, perfect.
your three East Laurinburg properties, we do not have any interest in those right now. Of course, they were zoned, and so they are still there. There is a big sign out front when you drive by down Business 74, so people would know they're available.
I thought we had somebody interested. They were just waiting on the zone.
They were waiting on the zoning, and then that changed their interest.
Oh.
So what they wanted to do.
Okay.
Not much to update you on Cascade's fire protection. We're still waiting on Cascade with that and that contract we're in with them. The free health clinic, this is something for your discussion. So I reported last month and showed you some pictures on the free health clinic and what condition that building was in. And so Mr. McGirt has been in touch with several contractors of different sorts over the last month, getting quotes for what it would take to bring that building up to safety, not to use as we would need it for space, only to make it safe to get in. And right now we're looking at close to $200,000 just to take that between the interior work, the duct work, the mold, the sprinkler system that would have to go in.
That's a free health clinic?
Yes,
Wasn't it operating?
Oh, you talking about
it was
the
operating.
one back here?
It was
I
not
went
county run, but it was operating.
Can't
But
you
there are,
replace the building for that?
No, you can't.
You can't move that building for that.
there are major problems in that building that does not take into account any further expense you will incur if there's asbestos in that building.
There's no asbestos. It's not, it's too
not
new
old
to be
Well,
asbestos.
we can't find the date of that building because we were not the first owners or users of that building either. It was brought from Laurel Hill, apparently, and put on site there. So we're not quite sure of the date. That will also not, like I said, include any cost for what we don't know is there yet and to make it usable space.
Yeah, but
Wasn't there
I
some
mean,
conversation about that we couldn't rebuild their,
It is on a sewer line. You can, but we wouldn't suggest that because it is on a sewer line.
I went in there. There's some rooms need some work done to them. Some cosmetic work and maybe some roof leaking, but not every room.
$200,000.
Not every room I walk.
I think it's what you don't see is the problem. It's the buckling of the floor. It's the soft floor. The ductwork is ripped down underneath. There is mold underneath. There's mold on the inside. And so there's a lot of work before you could begin discussions on how could this be usable office space for one of our current departments.
but if you don't, you're gonna have to tear it down or move it. It's gonna cost you that much to do. It's gonna cost you that much to do that, I would think. Can we give it back?
I would, well, and when you talk about demoing it, we could do that in county. We do know we could take that project on ourselves. We would not have to contract for that.
Yeah, but
Part of,
let's go back to that discussion about building the building next door.
I was fixing.
Because if we tear it down and don't spend anything on it, we just tear it down, then we still gonna have to spend a couple $100,000 for a temporary for
Right.
them.
What I,
Whether we spent the 200,000 on that to where they could use it temporary, and then we could still use it afterwards.
Well, she said,
Or
now,
What-
now,
what
saying
I-
that's on safety.
right.
what I rec,
For safety, they ain't talking about the renovation. Right.
that's correct. What I recommend in response to that is let's spend that money at I. Johnson. That was one of our initial plans for EMS to have some, like overnight bunk rooms or rooms when we have, emergencies in our county. We were talking about doing that on the end of I. Johnson that we haven't developed yet, the classroom ends. We were talking about that anyway, which would temporarily relocate EMS when they build their building. And then, like you said, continue to be usable space as we move forward. So that's my thoughts on that. Where do you want to invest your money?
So you're just saying tear this down?
That would be my recommendation and make the investment over at Johnson.
so you telling us that it's 200,000 to bring it up to code
Yes.
or bring it up to new?
Safe.
To make it usable, safe space for somebody to work in and it be safe, for the
the
floors to be
square
safe.
footage
There
of
no
that
mold in it. And we had various contractors to look at the mold under it, of course, to look at the duct work under it, and then different contractor look at the inside of it.
Wow.
And then, of course, there are things that would have to be done to bring it up to code too, because it is such an old
And
building.
then we got more money on top of that to bring it up to what we want to use it for.
Yes, sir.
It just seems steep to me, but I mean,
There's too much money to put in that building. It looked like a mobile home on the outside.
It is a mobile home.
It is a mobile home that had 2 additions on each end.
And just do the Johnson thing. Tear that building down. You're still gonna have the same, it's gonna be worth the same thing when you spend
yeah,
$200,000.
because I don't think you can move it now.
I mean, I'm talking about take a bulldozer and move it.
No, I'm saying if mobile home parts, you can't move it now. So, I mean, you'd have to tear it down.
That's the
Get
move
some
I'm
scrap
talking
metal
about.
out of it.
Ms. Need, at one time, there was a conversation about the Family First program, if that's the right name, going into the ILS Johnson, and there was, that that was not where we decided to go, but there was, one of the issues was if we did that, we would have to put in showers and
Yes.
that kind of stuff, and there was something that made that either really expensive or untenable for us to do.
When it can be done, it would be expensive. I think what I'm saying is, do you make your investment in this building, the free health clinic, or do you make your investment in I. Johnson?
But you don't think there was anything that kept us from doing it? It just might be expensive to do it.
Correct.
There's bathrooms in each classroom over there, I think.
Well,
There are, and of course,
if I was gonna put $200,000 in something, I'd rather put it in I.E. Johnson than I would a trailer.
Oh, absolutely.
So for tonight, you're saying you recommending that we move forward with.
that's my
quotes on
recommendation. If
demolition.
you all want more information, or, that's totally, I just wanted you to bring you up to speed as to where we were with that.
Get rid of it. I would
Maybe
make
we
the
can move
motion
it to El Moro.
to demolish that building.
Second that motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second to demolish the former free health clinic. Any other discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? There you go.
Okay, moving forward. Your local water supply plans for 2023 are now done. There was a resolution in your packet for each district or each system that I would need your approval on to finish this process.
That was in consent agenda.
Okay.
Okay.
Something to consent.
Perfect. Back to I. Johnson. So we have worked on some signage for I. Johnson. I've got you a couple of sample pictures. Of course, this isn't up there, but this is what we are looking at doing. Wanted to give you all a chance to look at that, see if there was anything different you wanted. We would also have a sign somewhat similar to your brick up at the top left at the entrance to where the community center, people enter now. Something similar to that as well. So you'd have signage in both places. So if that's satisfactory, we will move forward with getting those done.
Can you do all three of them?
Looks
Yes,
good.
sir. That's what
That's
we're
two-
proposing.
that's two
That's what we're
before.
proposing really
Okay,
for.
okay.
Mhm.
It lean. They took a picture like.
All right.
Okay.
Are we gonna take that, back to
The awning.
whatever that, covering there that's coming down, correct?
It looked like it's leaning, but they took. a
Whatever it
picture.
is,
It's built that way. It's made to.
They're going off.
it's made that way, but it's outdated. It's
You talk about the
They
canopy.
redid that, didn't
The
they?
canopy needs to
canopy.
come down and we need
I
to-
think they painted it and fixed that when they redid the rest of the building.
We got eggs. We got-
When they
Didn't they,
paint,
Mike? Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. But you're working on that, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, moving next to your East Laurinburg recycling. And so over the last week, we've had, I would say, a good development. That piece of property we liked on Dixie Guano Road that sold in October, the buyer is willing to sell to the county now. Yes, I have some pictures. So this is the property that I'm talking about. It is, as you can read from my description, it's 5 acres. That building right there has been burned on the inside. And so, of course, the building is sitting basically in the middle of the property. The building could be demoed. I did ask Mr. Milligan to go out there today. He took a look at what it would take if you wanted that to be a usable building or the landfill needed that for any reason. So in my conversations with the owner of this property, he also mentioned he had more property on Dixie Guano Road. I just learned this today. That does not have a building on it, and it is basically wooded land. And so there could be 2 options on Dixie Guano Road if that's where you're interested in putting a recycling center. This property sits beside Scotland Recycling and across the road from a concrete company. The next property is back towards Business 74, and basically it is 25 acres that he is willing to, of course, sell off, and it's very long. And back towards this property, towards Highland Road, there's nothing across from it. So there's 2 options there if you're interested. I've spoken to the owner of this property about pricing. He is willing to negotiate. He's also willing to sell us less than the 5 acres if you're interested. We don't need 5 acres for a recycling center. Sneed's Grove is our probably our best recycling center right now in Scotland County, and that's on about 2 acres. I think you should also consider, would you like to make something a smaller version of a recycling center versus it looking just like all the other ones in Scotland County? Meaning, would you want 2 bins out there versus the 4 or 5 bins? Are you interested in a smaller version? Another thing you could consider, and of course it's all based on what do you want to spend on this. This on Dixie Guano Road is so close to the landfill, you may not need to purchase a compactor to have on site. It's so close, the trucks can come much closer and much quicker than to the rest of the county. So those are all things to consider moving forward. What do you want this to really look like and have out there?
Well, I guess we need to find out before we do that, what can we get it for? We don't need 25 acres, that's for sure. Either.
No, but he is willing to sell that off because he knows we only need 2, max 3 acres.
If you're this is the old Piedmont Communication Building.
Mm-hmm.
Remember
It's
that?
right there near the recycling center.
Right beside it. Yes, sir.
Would that be a traffic problem? You know what I mean?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Like I said, there's no other neighbors around. And that building sits right in the middle of the lot. So there's a good bit of land behind it and on each side.
We would have to do something with the building though.
It's correct.
Can we,
Can you utilize it for offices?
No, that's how the building look.
It's in bad shape.
I mean, the building, of course, could be rehabbed. It would take a lot. All the wiring, of course, is burned.
so how much,
It is on a slab.
how much land beside the building?
Beside this building, it looks to be about equal both ways, which I don't like. I hate that the building is sitting right in the middle of the lot.
Cause really with it being so close to the landfill, we don't really need anything but a mini site.
I was gonna say, if
So
you
you wouldn't need but a half acre maybe.
don't,
Right.
you don't need a building, you got the recycling center, strap metal right beside it.
Right. I would recommend let's at least starting with a smaller scale.
Mhm.
You could start it up faster less cost, and then let's see what happens with it.
Yeah, because you're not gonna have somebody bringing metal recycling there in the place next door where they can get paid for it. So,
Yeah. And the recycling center probably going to take that building down.
Yeah.
This is his other tract of land. Oh, I didn't fill in the acres. It's 25 acres, but it's wooded, as you see. That house sits at across the road from the beginning, but if you move further down towards the Piedmont piece of property, there's nothing across from it.
Is that in that bottom though? Ain't that?
That is not in a flood area. Neither one of these are.
That's not near the old Dixie Gawana, is it?
That's
This
the
is
end of the
on
road.
Dixie Guano Road, back towards Business 74.
Is that like almost on the corner?
Not particularly. No, this is where Piedmont is a mile. This is about half a mile.
Okay.
You got business 47.
The
I
house
assume you
coming
mean
with the land.
74.
I do.
The house coming with the land.
Wondered what that.
No, the house is
Like
just
the
across
chicken.
the road. I wanted to give you a reference point. Like I said, this just came up to my attention today.
So how many acres is that?
That's 25, but he will sell us.
Yeah, I was gonna say some of that, the city had to go out and replace a major water line during Florence. So some of it's whole water. Some of
Okay.
that 25 will hold some water.
But I think that's the other end.
I did pull.
This is the end back toward Highland Road, right?
No, this is
Oh,
the end towards
that's what-
Business 74.
Well, there's
Towards
nothing.
that's towards East Lombard side.
It is. I did pull
That
the
dip still.
flood zones for these.
Lowlands that in there.
And Piedmont is closer to a flood zone than this is because this is on the other side of the road from where the Piedmont property is. Neither are close.
So this, okay,
But-
okay. I get you.
So I can have some conversations with him about both pieces of property. I just wanted some guidance to see where you were at with that, especially for the Piedmont communication site. I know what he paid for that site, so I don't know how much above you want to go that, and then say we're not going to offer any more than that.
What he says first. And then
I've seen what he said, and I said, "Sir, the county's not going to pay you that."
when-
But then he's
let's see
willing to
what this-
negotiate after
let's see
that,
what
and
his
he's willing to
serious
split it off.
offer is.
Okay.
Well, we're going into it in a little bit.
So there's your updates, and of course, I don't think this is what you want, but you do have 3 pieces of property sitting on 74. If this didn't work out, you do have that, and I do think with some proper landscaping and it being a miniature site, we could make it not an eyesore for 74 and not an eyesore for that community building behind it. Like I said, with proper fencing and landscaping around that, we could work with that.
That was going to be a question that I wanted to pose to our board members because Saturday after the Christmas parade, I was approached by a few citizens from East Lombard who, number one, want us to do something quick. Number two said, one person said, it doesn't have to be as big as the other place. Just put 2 dumpsters over there. And then thirdly asked if that lot is not selling, could we not do something small there? And I said I'd bring it back because I never saw that there was any interest in using that area. And I can understand partially why. But I mean, all the other ones are on main highways as well. I mean, most of them anyway, So I just want to bring, because I said I would, a possibility of putting something small on the lot that we already own is not selling. I mean, that's just an idea.
And I'm glad you brought that up too, because we can take a bin out anytime and set it down, and it's ready. It's ready for people to come dump things in.
Yeah, but let me tell you what happened to them bins, because we used to have those around the county, and you remember that. It becomes a mess.
And we would have to have that manned,
Well, I was about to say,
staffed.
Oh, you still put a fence around.
And you got to have somebody to man it, but something.
But we do have a contract that we contract that service for people that man all those other sites. So I would think they would be glad to provide us somebody pretty quickly.
Would that reduce the value of those other?
Well, I was
pieces
gonna
of
say, is
property
that across from partner ministry?
Yes.
It is.
That look,
And is it
I
zoned? for
just
that
wouldn't
use?
want to put a trash place across
No, they just rezoned it.
there
Rezoned it
and put it,
commercial.
They
in a-
rezoned it commercial
makes the
residential.
community look bad. That
And-
just
and-
that's just not.
And then does that fall in the city of
Appropriate.
ETJ?
I'm cool with it. I
No,
just
I mean,
We
said,
did the
look
rezoning.
I'm gonna want
You
that.
talking about the existing?
It's dumping on
Well, I'm just saying, if we were to
Right,
try to
right,
rezone
right,
it to
right.
that, could that
Okay,
fall
yeah.
into their ETJ?
You talking
That's
right
the
across from the
clear.
school?
Yeah.
I didn't hear you.
I said that don't look right, dumping on somebody using that site in East Lombard
I got
You talking across from the school?
from the school.
Yeah.
That kids next door,
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
community behind them.
you. Church across the
You want to
street.
be labeled that.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I said to those citizens, I would bring it.
It's not a bad idea. I just,
Oh.
I just not sure that's what.
I knew that was our hesitation
Bad.
anyway.
That's cool.
I think the other pieces of property you're talking about, and y'all obviously have greater familiarity with it than I do, but I think either one of those sound promising, and I think we ought to move forward.
Yeah, I think from what I've heard, he wanted for that old Piedmont building, I think he will come down substantially off of that. So
You don't think that's like too far out by itself though?
It is 2 miles from, where was my first? It is 1 mile from Partners in Ministry. It does feel
But
like
it's just kind of
further
out in the country. It feels like
But
kind of out
it's-
in the country like
You
that.
drive on past Partners in Ministry and take a right, and it's exactly 1 mile from there. So it's not that far.
It really is not.
there was some companies that contracted that radio tower. You don't know if that thing's still in use, do you?
We used to take our car, I can't remember what you, maybe in the early 2000s, we used to take our patrol cars out there to get them.
That's where they,
Wired
and I know he had some repeaters on that
Yeah.
tower, but I don't know if they're still on.
The owner didn't mention that. He purchased this for something, and in the midst of the purchase, it burned. And so he's just not using it.
Well, I tell y'all, once you put the fence up around these facilities and you put the strips in there, they don't look that bad. I have one across from my house, and it really don't even bother me
Just that location.
because it don't look bad when you put the strips up around it and everything, and
But I'm
it's maintained. The grass is cut. I mean,
But
like I
now
said,
where
there's one directly across from my house, and it don't bother me a bit.
But it was there before you built your house.
Yeah. Mhm.
That was a choice he made, not.
That was the choice I made. Yeah, it was
Wasn't
there.
dumped on him.
Actually, it wasn't. So I've been there. No, actually, it wasn't. So they put it in there.
Yeah.
They put it in there. I'd already been living there about, I don't know, 15 years when they put it in there, but it still didn't bother me. But that year later, I did build a new house, but it still didn't bother me. I mean, the way the county keeps it up, they keep the grass cut, they keep the strips in the fence where you can't really see in there. So, I mean, it really don't look that bad, to be honest with you.
All right, Lynn, you know which
Yes.
way to go, so we can move ahead here.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. So when you come back with a purchase price, can you also come back with what it will take? So we don't have to say, yeah, let's buy it, and now bring us back a plan to put it up. We
Absolutely.
can make a decision and go ahead and.
All
get
in
it.
one.
And
Well-
so would you like me to come back with a miniature site?
I would say something
That-
smaller,
Yeah.
but with
Yeah.
someone that'll manage.
I would too.
But I wouldn't buy less land than you think you might need if you have to do
Correct.
something
full thing.
larger.
Right.
Okay. That's what I will do. I Johnson surplus. I don't have a picture of that, but just so you know, all the leftover furniture from the school, you may have seen this advertised on Facebook on December 12th. Nonprofits can come, first come, first serve. Come get what you would like to have. And so Ms. Tyson's done a great job of getting the word out there. We're getting a lot of interest on that to the point we are having to put some parameters in place. We've got calls like, can we come take it all? So we're having to put some parameters on place. We want to make, give a lot of nonprofits some opportunity to get some of that furniture because some of it it's very usable.
Can you put those parameters out before?
We
then?
will. She
So
was
they'll
working
know
on
what
that today. Some of these odd questions have just started coming up. So we'll work on that.
Would you make sure we know those?
Sure, we'll send it out to you all. Solar power ordinances. So our ordinances from Article 13 are outdated to some degree. There was new legislation that was passed some time ago, a few months ago, that already makes part of your ordinances out of date. I think, I hope I'm not overstepping when I say I think the zoning board would not mind if we did some work on those ordinances. And I recommend bringing some professionals in to do some work on your ordinances, on your solar ordinances is what I'm talking about. And I would like to go out and get some bids to do that, to firm up your processes for those and to become in compliance with the new legislation,
I'm sorry, and it become compliant with.
with the new legislation. But I do think we need some legal advice on those ordinances, not just for one of our staff members to rewrite them.
We got an attorney.
We do.
Well, I strongly agree with that suggestion, and I have spoken to Mr. McMillan a number of times about this, and I think that board clearly would endorse that as well, but I don't want to speak for him.
Without opening a huge can of worms or long discussion, what changed in the state statute?
Decommissioning was the major thing that changed, but there's some other, in addition to that, our ordinance is minimal. It was part of the draft that we got from the folks that were here earlier, that separate and apart from the land use plan. And I think your chairman would probably attest that what's there is minimal. And I think what I would hope this board would want would be greater authority and greater flexibility regarding solar. I assume you want that, maybe I'm.
No, I was
about
just
that.
curious what changed.
Well, the ordinance itself is weak.
I thought we had something in place years ago, slowing down the solar farm.
Well, whatever we did have in place got replaced by that you adopted when the folks from the Council of Governments came in, and
It is right.
and I think it was last year or the year before you adopted the revisions, and it's really only about a page or a page and a half, and you really need greater authority and greater flexibility, in my opinion.
So is that something you would like me to pursue,
Yes, ma'am.
price that, getting
Yes.
that done? Okay,
Yes.
I'll do that. Your capital committee, with the new budget year coming up or us beginning to work on the budget for fiscal year 25, I would recommend, I believe one time you had a capital committee out of your commissioners group, and I would recommend putting that back together. So you could take a look at I believe there's like a 5-year plan out there, maybe even a longer plan, but you take a look at that and see if you still have the same priorities for that and what new priorities might need to be added to that and where they get placed in that, especially for fiscal year 25. So I'm not sure who's on that committee or if you just want to.
I was, but I don't know who. You have the list.
Chairman Ivy, Commissioner Purcell, and I think Commissioner BJ Gibson.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Because Goldston was on it, and
Right.
then she left.
And so was Bob Davis.
Yeah.
And so-
Speaking of
Might
which,
have
I
never-
didn't know-
you may have never
I
met.
didn't know his
We
wife
had-
passed away.
Oh, did she?
Yeah, she died last
Yeah, that's
week.
worked out
You know
for
that Bob's wife died? Okay, but we can schedule that in January, right? You don't wanna-
Yes, I just wanted you to think about that, and when it's the time, I would be able to pull that committee together, or Beth,
There you go.
whoever.
There you
Yep. Okay. The last thing I have is we're working on a few things at the county, doing some internal time reviews of across all the county departments to see how different departments are handling leave, earning excessive comp time, when they're clocking out, when they're not. So we're looking at that. We have put together a work group to look at certifications and when staff should receive increased salaries based on certifications. And so we want to do that consistently across the entire county. And so department heads and myself have a matrix to look at to say, oh, you got this, it meets these criteria. Yes, it meets the criteria to get a pay increase based on that. And then finally, we're looking at some internal controls for the P cards that are issued across this county. Ms. Hobbs and I both agree there's probably too many P cards in hands across Scotland County, and we're going to pull that back in very soon as a form of internal control and to reduce spending. And so that's just some of the things we're working on right now.
Have you,
That's my
that's it?
report.
I'm sorry.
Yes,
Have you got a count on MP cards? How many is
I-
supposed to count?
I do. I want to say there's about 83.
I wouldn't have thought there was that many, but
So we're coming
yeah,
up with guidelines on who should have P cards and who should not.
okay, thank you. All right, for commissioner news, we'll start with Mr. Frizzell. Mr. Gibson.
I do. I want to remind everyone of our luncheon on Wednesday for our employees. It's from 11 until 2 at the IEJ Community Center. I want to thank Ms. Tyson and Mr. Robinson. They've been working really hard to secure caterers and setting up everything for that. I also want to request $1,000 that would allow us to purchase gifts and gift cards to be a part of the luncheon and be a random drawing throughout the day to give gifts to all employees.
So I'll take that as a motion.
That's my motion.
All right, we have a motion. We have a second. Any other discussion? Who's going to?
Ms. Tyson is.
Ms. Tyson gonna do it? Okay.
She'll go shop for us.
Okay, okay.
Between
All
the
right.
two of us.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
My last thing is, as your representative on the DSS board, I would like to introduce our new DSS director, Ms. Kimberly McCray. Ms. Kimberly McCray has been with our local Department of Social Services for 29 years. And as of Friday, she was hired as our new director. And so want to make sure we introduce her and welcome her formally.
Congratulations.
That's all.
Commissioner McFadden. Mr. Williams.
As we come to an end of the year, and BJ, you congratulate Kim. I always echo this, when we have some of our department heads here. Our biggest asset for this county is our employees. That's why it's important that we have that dinner. Don't lose sight of that. The biggest asset we have in this county is our employees, and we must show appreciation to them. So as we come to an end, Kim and Brian and Mike, I don't have my glasses on. We want to tell you guys.
It's employees.
Oh yeah, my fault.
Yeah.
Department's head, all that's here. I'm sorry, I don't mean to exclude any of you. We appreciate you, appreciate what you do. I'm sorry about, Sam,
Y'all
my
got
eyes
closed
is going
section.
bad, I'm
We
getting
got-
old.
All right, Commissioner Alford,
Closed section. Where y'all going?
you have anything?
Yes, sir. I just want to restate what Mr. Graham had said concerning safety at Wagham, Bar Hill, and IEJ. We've come to a time, it's not just what you hear about IEJ. This is all over America, and it's serious. And the 3 hours that we just talked about, it's got to be the whole while people are there 8 hours a day for our employees' sake, because they feel this as well. We have turned a recreation place into a place of employment for other people. And the general public bring elements there that employees shouldn't have to deal with. So we got to look at this long and hard and provide. We know it's going to cost us, but it's going to cost us more if we don't do it. We must provide security at these recreation places, because we have seniors and little kids and everybody coming in now. So 3 hours is not going to cut it. And $60,000 is not even tip of the iceberg. We'll need 3 employees to handle this. We have to do that going forward, because it's happening in school, churches, everywhere. Violence that we've never seen before, and we want to prevent it here. We can do it. Thank you.
Commissioner Gibson. I'm good, sir. Good to go. I don't have anything other than, do wish them all a Merry Christmas. I will not be at the event, the employee event Wednesday. I have to have a minor surgery in Duke Wednesday morning, so I'll be there. Just to let everybody on the board know and the community know, we did award a contract on the John Blue House for that to be started and began. So it should begin hopefully in the next 30 days. I don't know where we are on the contract, but anyway, hopefully in the next 30 days, we'll get to hammering and painting and all that stuff. So with all that said, we will need a motion to go into closed session pursuant to the items listed in the agenda.
So moved.
Motion.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you all for coming.
Tim, I be able to stay. My sister-in-law that birthday party, he started on.
Sorry.
That's why I'm dressed up.
So that wasn't for us, right?